you doing? Cuong here with another episode of Cuong Can Cook. Now it's 5:30 at night, I just got home from work and the family's hungry. So what do you do on a weeknight like this? Well, I've got a secret recipe for our famous short rib soup with macaroni that we make a lot at home, and I'm gonna share it with you tonight so you can make it for yourself. Cooks up really fast. It's a very comfort food type dish, so your family's gonna absolutely love it, and especially if it's a little bit chilly outside as it gets closer to the winter, you're gonna love this recipe. You don't need a lot of ingredients to do this, and we usually keep it on hand. The ingredients that you're gonna need are some pork spare ribs. Now these happen to be short ribs, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what those are and where they come from. You're gonna need some of your favorite pasta. We happen to like the elbow macaroni. A little bit of oil, some fish sauce, and some salt. A small amount of tomatoes. You can use the big tomatoes. I happen to find these smaller ones. They're very cute when they cook up in our dish. I chopped up some regular onion, and we'll have some green onion and some cilantro for garnish at the end. Short ribs, what are they? I mean, if you can think of a pig, when it's lying down on all fours, there's a rib cage that goes around like this, right? And up at the top, along the pig's back, those are the back ribs. And back ribs, there's longer ribs up near the head of the pig, and they get shorter as you go to the back. So the baby back ribs are the baby ones along the back of the pig. So you probably heard of those, especially with a certain restaurant that has been trying to advertise them because you want your baby back ribs, right? So those are good. They're all in the back. They're not exactly the best ribs though. They just happen to have good advertising. As you go around from the back ribs and start heading around the side towards the front, you get to what are known as the spare ribs or the side ribs. And again, the spare ribs are where you're going to find your St. Louis style ribs or the other kinds of ribs that you normally find at a barbecue, besides the baby backs. And there's a long end, and again there's a short end. What these are the short spare ribs, the ones towards the back of the pig, and since they're from the short end, this meat is generally more tender and more delicious, so these may cost a little bit more. Happen to get them at a good price today, so we're going to use these pork short ribs for our soup. Okay, now you head on over. We're going to start cutting these up and getting everything ready for our special macaroni soup. So now before we cook, as always, don't forget we got to stay lubed. What does that mean? Look, just like a machine, when you're not lubricated enough, there's too much friction and parts rub against each other the wrong way. So staying lubed is very important. I don't know if you noticed, but I've been on a diet since the last time we talked. And one of the things about being on a diet is that you have to stay away from alcohol. So I'm gonna introduce you to one of my favorite non-alcoholic drinks today. I've been drinking this Zevia sparkling water. This one happens to be the mandarin orange flavor. Keeps me lubed almost as good as if I was drinking some of my other favorite drinks, which by now you probably know involves either a lot of vodka, red wine, or perhaps a grapefruit shandy now and again. So let's go ahead and get lubed before we get started cooking. Oh, that's refreshing. After coming home from a day at work, and the family's all hungry. But since the family's all hungry, let's get started cooking right now. Okay? And when you look at these spare ribs, I happen to have them cut across the bone this way. So these are the short ribs with the bones going this way. What I like to do is just cut the meat right in between the bones. So there's a small piece of bone in each piece. These come out sort of like riblets, if you will. All right? And last one. And now we'll go ahead and add these to the ones that I've cut up already. And we'll move on over to the Instant Pot, over to Lionel, and we'll get started cooking. All right, all you potheads, check this out. Tonight, I got Lionel here. He's gonna be cooking with me. Set the pot to saute, and already it says hot, so we're ready to go. Put a little bit of oil in there into the bottom. And the onion that I chopped up already is gonna go right in there. So let these onions heat up, get them a little bit soft. We're gonna go ahead and add the short ribs that we cut up. It's also a good time, if you've got those tomatoes, if you're using the little ones, I've gone ahead and cut them all in half. If you're using bigger tomatoes, chop them into smaller pieces like this. Now, as the meat starts to get a little bit of color on them, we're going to need to season them. We pre-season before we cook to make sure some of that flavor gets into the meat. But remember that we're going to taste and make sure that it's seasoned correctly at the very end as well, right before we eat. Okay? So into here, we're going to put in some salt. Now you use whatever salt you like. I am using the pink Himalayan salt here. Okay, get a nice good amount in there. We're also going to add a small amount of fish sauce to get everything started. Now into the pot, we're going to add our tomatoes. Give everything a nice stir. Over on the stove, I've got a big pot of water that's been boiling. I'm going to put that water in here right now. Just make sure that you, on your Instant Pot, you don't go up past the max line. That's right here. You want to stay below the max line whenever you can. If you go above the max line, sometimes bad things happen. Like when you release the pressure at the end, all the water decides to come gushing out like Old Faithful or something like that. It'll be a big geyser. So stay below the max line and you should be okay. I'm going to take the water, I'm going to pour it in here, and we're going to keep cooking. We're going to keep cooking, and we're going to keep lubing. We put our water in here. Everybody's swimming in our jacuzzi. Nice and comfy, right? This is perfect. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna come around, we're gonna put this to, we're gonna turn it to off. And we're gonna put it back on manual. We're gonna take it down to 24 minutes. Put our lid on. Now before you were here, I made sure that the seal was in there correctly and make sure that we have the vent valve set to sealing. Instant Pot is heating up now. Since we started with hot water, this process will take a lot less than if you start with cold water. It's going to heat up, build up the pressure. The safety pin here will come up, seal everything off, build up the pressure, cook it for 24 minutes. After 24 minutes is done, we're going to do a quick pressure release. Why is that? Now, you heard of two types of ways to release pressure on here. There's the quick pressure release, QPR, and the natural pressure release, which is NPR. NPR is after the cooking's done, you just let the pot sit naturally. Think of it as no pressure release. You don't do anything. As the pot cools down, the pressure will dissipate on its own, and the pin will fall down, and then you can open it. Sometimes when you cook a lot of soup like this, even if you decide to natural pressure release, with all that hot liquid in there, it may take a very long time. So typically, after 15 to 20 minutes, if the pin hasn't already come down, you can release the vent valve and let the small bit of pressure release that way, open it up, and start eating. Natural pressure release is great for meats because that sudden change in pressure often seizes up the meat fibers, making it a little bit tougher. Now the reason I'm going to do a quick pressure release after 24 minutes is because I want to get this open so I can put our macaroni in. We put the macaroni in, stir it up, we're going to cook it for another 6 minutes to cook the macaroni through. After which time the meat should be tender enough that when we do a quick pressure release at the very end, everything will be nice and soft and good to eat. And the reason we don't natural pressure release pasta is we don't want it to continue cooking under pressure all that time and you end up with overcooked gummy pasta, right? Okay, we've been letting it go for a few minutes, and if you look over here, the pin is up. The system is sealed, but it's not ready to start just yet. It's still heating up, building up to the right pressure. And once the correct pressure has been achieved, you're gonna see it change from on to 24 and start counting down. And while it's cooking over here, we're gonna go ahead and get our garnish ready, right? Do some of the green onion and some of the cilantro. Easy way to cut the green onion, first you cut the end of the roots off, cut them in half, bring the halves around, and we'll do a nice chop on them. Okay, set these aside. And we'll do the same for the cilantro with a nice... Okay, we are all done. We've got onion and cilantro chopped up. Okay, welcome back, potheads. Check this out. Timer's done. I think it says 0 or 1. I don't know how long it's been since it actually turned off. Remember, stay lubed while we're cooking. Ah, delicious, Zevia. And now it's time to quick release and get our pasta in. Okay, to do that, I'm gonna move the valve from sealing to venting, and it's gonna let all the pressure out really fast. And that's why it's called quick release. You probably can't hear me now over the steam. All the steam and the pressure inside of the Instant Pot is rushing out. We're gonna wait. When the safety pin valve drops down, that's when you know that enough pressure has been released that it's safe enough to open the pot. So imagine there's a lot of pressure in there. We had a lot of liquid going. It was very hot. So it built up all the pressure. It cooked everything real nice. I bet the ribs, the short ribs that are in there are super tender right now and just about ready to eat. So as the pressure goes away, as you watch, the pin is going to drop. And once it's dropped, just like it did, the pressure is released enough that we can get this lid open. Take a look at all of this wonderful deliciousness that is in here. We've got super tasty broth seasoned with the tomatoes and some onion, a little bit of fish sauce and salt as well. What we want to do now is make sure that we are seasoned correctly and give it a quick taste. Almost there. So we're going to go ahead and add some salt. I'm going to add some more fish sauce. Feel free to season generously. We've seasoned the broth to exactly how we like it. Now it's time to add some of the pasta. This is a 1 pound box of pasta. I'm gonna add about 1/4 to 1/3 of it in here. I got it. So our pasta's in. Give it another quick stir. I'm going to put our lid back on. I'm going to manual for another 6 minutes, and we should be ready to eat. Let's take a look inside. Now look in here at all this perfectly cooked pasta, meat, soup, It's smelling good, looking delicious. Look at all that meat and flavored with the tomatoes. Let's go ahead and dish some up. Should we get a nice, generous helping of the little riblets and some pasta. And now we're gonna garnish with the green onion, some cilantro. As a final touch, you can either use the togarashi or some pepper. Add that at the very end. Okay. We'll go ahead and add a little bit of pepper. Let's give it a taste. Soup has a good mouthfeel. It's nice and deep. The bones, from the small bit of bones that was in the meat, was enough to give the broth a nice deep flavor. We'll try some of the meat. Just fall apart tender. Dissolves in your mouth, and yet all that porky flavor is still there. Amazingly delicious. So if you're short on time, go ahead and try this macaroni soup. Everything is in the Instant Pot. You cook the short ribs and the tomatoes and the onions together. Cook that for 24 minutes. Release, add your pasta, finish off in 6 minutes, and you've got a nice dinner going for the family. As always, potheads, make sure that you cook well, you eat well, you stay lubed, you have a good time doing it, and always remember that if Cuong can cook, then you can too. Cheers.